advantage with a victory today. On the pole at a record lap of over 124 miles an hour, Tommy Kendall in the normally aspirated Chevrolet Intrepid. Next to him, young Davy Jones in the Jaguar XJR16, the only two-time winner this season. On row 2, Chip Robinson and his teammate Jeff Brabham in a pair of Nissan NPT 90s with new 4-valve engines. On row 3, Juan Fangio II in a Toyota Eagle. Next to him, James Weaver, not feeling too well in a Porsche 962C. Row 4 will be Rocky Moran in another Toyota. Next to the Pontiac of John Hotchkiss Sr. Qualified the car, Hotchkiss Jr. will start. On row 5, Parker Johnstone, winner of 5 of 6 races in the Camel Lights class for the Acura Spice. Next to him, Jim Pace in a Buick Kudzu. The rest of the field will be David Tennyson and Ruggero Melgrati, Tom Hessert, Hugh Fuller. You see the rest of the field as pole sitter Tom Kendall brings them down the diving turn onto the front straightaway. 1.54 miles around. We're ready for action. The BMW pace car pulls off. Starter Jim Sidley holds the field with his left hand in the orange glove. We await the green flag, and we have it.
And Tommy Kendall made a fantastic start there. He really messed up those turbocharged cars just absolutely perfectly as he went past the booth here.
Very long right-hander to start this race. The drivers will take an incredible beating today. A lot of G-forces lapping at less than 45 seconds. Tommy Kendall was 2.8 seconds under the old qualifying lap record. You see the field making its way now through the S's, as David mentioned. The only left-hand.
Someone's smoking there. One of those front cars was smoking there as it went out of sight, but it doesn't seem to be doing it now. So Tommy Kendall comes into West Bend. This bend now is flat out in these cars, and they stay flat to the floor under the bridge.
You are on board with Chip Robinson and the Nissan number 84. Robinson, the new series points leader, following a victory 3 weeks ago in Topeka, Kansas.
And Robinson got around Davy Jones in the Jaguar and is in second spot now.
There is Davy Jones to the right behind Chip Robinson. Meanwhile, that Chevy Intrepid with Tommy Kendall aboard is disappearing.
It's not going to be an easy race for anybody this afternoon. It is extremely hot and humid here. These guys are being asked to do 2 hours. This course, as you can see, is virtually one long corner. It's like a 1.5 mile oval with just one left-hand bend thrown in, which is, that's one on there, that little flick left out of the chicane. You hardly can count that. But from here on, right down to turn 1, it's pretty well flat out. Developing at this point, just as they go down the hill, just right here, these cars are developing nearly 3.5 times the force of gravity.
You see the sparks underneath the number 84 Nissan as the skid plates wear away very low. And down to the inside of Davy Jones took a look, but oh, Chip Robinson comes right across his bow. Same 2 drivers on the first lap across the start-finish line. You see all of those sparks underneath that Nissan. I wonder if they intended to run it that low.
And you see how bumpy the track is there. Both those cars bouncing down and, of course, bouncing into each other as Chip Robinson got underneath Davy Jones going to turn 1. That was 2 laps ago. Into the chicane now for the 3rd time.
Chip Robinson, for the first time in about a year, he's had the lead in points. He has 88 coming in to his teammate Jeff Brabham's 82. Davy Jones has 77 points. Now smoke from the number 8 Camel Lights car. That's Tom Hessert, a former Camel Lights champion. He's in a car normally occupied by his Essex Racing teammate Charles Morgan, the leader in Camel Lights, second in Camel Lights points behind Parker Johnstone. There is Tom Hessert, car dealer from Cherry Hills, New Jersey, smoking that Buick badly out the back.
Wayne Taylor is also striding through the field. Ooh, that car smoking. Its days are pretty well numbered, I would think. There we see the field coming into turn 1. There's the Acura Spice.
To the left of your screen is a GTP Spice, an older model. The white car is a newer Spice with an Acura engine from Honda's Acura division. It's a V6, and it has totally reset the performance standards in Camel Lights competition this year. There's a look at the rest of the field making its way through. David Tennyson in the Denon Spice Ferrari engine car. Now here is Wayne Taylor, and just ahead of him is the number 98 Toyota.
Rocky Moran, is that right?
Driven by Rocky Moran, that's right. And here comes Davy Jones underneath Chip Robinson to take away second place at turn 1.
Chip Robinson left the door uncharacteristically wide open there as they came down the straight. We didn't see what happened at the beginning. Davy Jones may have sold him a bit of a dummy. Looked as if he was going to go down the outside, but look at the stretching out that Davy has now put the daylight between himself and Chip Robinson. Davy Jones set a tremendously fast qualifying time, but it was only second place. In fact, a second slower than the Intrepid of Tom Kendall. Tom Kendall's qualifying time, I have to tell you, was absolutely outstanding. He did 124 miles an hour, and the old fastest lap here was 114. That's nearly 10 miles an hour in 1 year, and the track hasn't changed one bit.
We'll be talking about that car all day long. Meanwhile, it looks as though Davy Jones is able to pull out easily on Chip Robinson. I'm a little surprised by that.
Well, the Jaguar has been the sort of class of the field this year. There's the Toyota has got around Jeff Brabham. Jeff Brabham, of course, had a pretty busy weekend racing in the Indy 500 yesterday.
Juan Fangio ahead of Jeff Brabham. Brabham finished, I believe, 21st in the Indianapolis 500. A pretty frustrating day for him. He's actually made 3 trips back and forth from Indy to Lime Rock and vice versa. Number 65 is your overall leader, Tom Kendall from La Cañada, California.
Now then, look how steady that car is. We've already seen how the Jaguar and the Nissan bounce around here. That car's very smooth.
Tom Kendall is your leader over Davy Jones and Chip Robinson. It is Chevy, Jaguar, and Nissan up front. Smoking to the right of your screen is Tom Hessert. His day may soon be done, but the number 65 of Tommy Kendall, a Chevrolet-powered Intrepid built by the Miller Racing Team out of Illinois. An all-American car designed by Bob Riley, who was at a hand in a lot of Indianapolis winners, a lot of the great Trans Am and IMSA GTO cars campaigned by Jack Roush. There is another Riley chassis behind the number 98 Toyota of Rocky Moran.
Now, I'm sure Wayne has rocketed through the field until he came to Rocky Moran, and there's no doubt about it that Rocky Moran is now slowing him up. Moran's car's probably just a bit quicker down the straight. Yeah, it looks like it. He's got the turbocharged. Only 2.1 litres, the smallest engine out there. But when they crank the boost into that thing, they give phenomenal horsepower. Similar to the 2-litre engine I raced at BMW many, many years ago. But it just shows how powerful it could be. And he's got him, and now you just watch him streak away.
Wayne Taylor underneath the turbocharged.
And the Jaguar of Bazell has caught up with Rocky Moran now.
So Rocky Moran will come under fire again. He may have a problem. The Gurney cars won 4 races last year. This year they've had a lot of trouble being competitive. They have a new car that is up and rolling, and we expect to see it very shortly. But in the meantime, they're using last year's machine. It's always amazing how quickly championship-level racing machinery can be obsolete a season later.
Well, I mean, if you look at the qualifying time, last year Drake Olson in one of those Toyotas set a qualifying time, as you've already said, over 2 seconds slower than this year. Incredible in 1 year.
Now, Raul Boisel crashed his car in practice last week. He had one of the old Jaguar XJR10s, just absolutely wiped it out against a tire barrier. The Jaguar team sent one of their guys back to their home base in Valparaiso, Indiana on Saturday night. They loaded up their new car, this one right here, that hadn't turned a wheel. You get back up to 65, and your overall leader, Tommy Kendall. To finish my Jaguar story, the crew worked all night to get the car loaded up on the truck, drove it here to Lime Rock. They worked until 2 o'clock late yesterday, this morning, and then we're back out here at 7 o'clock this morning to get that car going. On board now with David Tennyson in the Denon Spice Ferrari in the Camel Lights ranked in the no-name straight. Now they'll have a right turn and uphill to the chicane that was added a couple of years ago to keep these cars from leaving the ground entirely.
There's the 98 Toyota of Rocky Moran, followed by the Jaguar number 3 of Raul Boisel. As Bob has already told you, Boisel crashed heavily on Saturday afternoon, didn't get to qualify, and this is the first time that he's ever driven that car. Down no-name straight into the rising turn there. Rocky Moran seems to be holding the bay.
Back on point with Tom Kendall, already lapping traffic. There is your Camel Lights car of Parker Johnstone behind a similar car of Hugh Fuller, I believe, out of Auburn, Alabama. We'll have to check and see whether Johnstone is being led in a Camel Lights race. That might be one of the first times this year that's happened. Whoa, Kendall coming up on the slower cars.
I must say I find it pretty amazing that the Camel Light car of Hessen is allowed to continue smoking like it does. That's going to cause somebody a lot of grief sooner or later.
He is still on the racetrack.
Now you watch the 65 car there of Tom Kendall. You just watch it through here as it goes down the diving turn and through the bumps. Now just take a mental note of how it looks there and how it looks down this main straightaway. And then just compare that to what the Jaguar or the Nissan look like when we see them at other times. They've got the ride control on this car absolutely perfect.
Overall race leader with your Camel Lights leader. Nose to tail, Parker Johnstone moves over, lets Tommy Kendall through.
Well, if he's lapping the Camel Light leader in 11 laps,
54, Hugh Fuller off the racetrack. I wondered whether he was leading Tommy Kendall. I believe he had been lapped by Parker Johnstone in the Camel Lights competition. At the speeds these cars are going on such a short racetrack, we're going to have lapping going on all day long. It's going to be very difficult to keep things straight, but we'll do our best. Tommy Kendall, 6 feet 6 inches tall, yet he folds himself into this machine, and he just goes like crazy.
Fitness and endurance is going to be a big thing today. And Tommy Kendall, when I spoke to him about it the other day, one of the things he does is he practices yoga, which he maintains is great for physical shape.
I would imagine it would be. Meanwhile, we've got pit action. Let's get down to Jan Bikus.
Tommy Hessert has brought his car in. The motor is shut down. They're going to attempt to change the valve cover gasket on the Buick motor. This is obviously going to drop him way back, but they're going to make an attempt to get him back into the race.
It looks like it could be a pretty protracted repair. In the meantime, there's James Weaver in the number 16 Dyson Racing Porsche. He is about to be overcome by Wayne Taylor in the number 64 Chevy Intrepid. Taylor trying to move up from the back of the pack after having clutch problems in qualifying, as Jan Bikus mentioned at the top of our show. Now, James Weaver in that Porsche is having stomach trouble. He and his car owner, Rob Dyson, both apparently suffering queasy stomachs as a result of something they ate this morning. We'll see how far Weaver can go before he needs to hand over to Rob.
You get a really great, a very vivid demonstration there. Just look at the Porsche as it bounces its way through the bottom bend, and Wayne Taylor's car just glides over this extremely bumpy surface. The Porsche will no doubt have more straight line speed than Wayne Taylor. The Porsche going to the inside, making Wayne go around the outside, which is going to be difficult. These guys are racing for a position, and James Weaver is certainly no laydown when it comes to getting around him. But this is where the Intrepid, the number 64 car, is very, very much. Don't try it, Wayne. You've got a lot of time left yet. You've got an hour and 45 minutes to go. No point rushing your bridges.
Both of these drivers, James Weaver, Wayne Taylor, European veterans, they'll be at Le Mans in a few weeks' time. David and I hope to speak to you from the 24-hour Classic. Wayne Taylor had a new baby boy, Jordan Lee, back on the 10th of the month. He's a happy father. His teammate, number 65, Tommy Kendall, is just a little bit happier right at the moment. He is leading the way in the Toyota Trucks Lime Rock Grand Prix. Stay with us. Jaguar Davy Jones running in second position, and there is a gap. You saw your overall race leader Tommy Kendall duck at the bottom of the screen. He's got about 6 seconds in hand over this man, Davy Jones. Let's get down to the pits and Chris McClure quickly.
Well, Tony Dow, Jaguar manager, looking on very closely to Raul Boesel in particular. His first drive, how's it going with him?
Yeah, it seems to be going okay. He's getting amongst the faster cars now, and so his advancement is slowing down a bit.
Had he had experience in the car Davy's in? I mean, was this a complete surprise?
Well, only after you crashed the first one, yeah.
Is there a big adaptation from the 10 to the 16?
Yeah, I think there's a fair performance advantage that he has to, find the limits of the car, and that's going to take this race to get to know what the car does.
And that's going to be a tough battle under the kind of conditions we're seeing today. This race is going down at record pace, flying around the racetrack. This car of Davy Jones, his teammate Raul Boesel, and the rest of the field of 19. Make that 18 with Tom Hessert's Camel Lights car in the pits. The battle continues here between the number 16 of James Weaver and Wayne Taylor. This is a battle for 6th place. Taylor coming from the back of the pack. Weaver started his car in the number 6 position. So Taylor has already made up 11 spots on the racetrack. Rob Dyson is the car owner in this car, but James Weaver, we are informed, is the driver at this point.
This is where Wayne Taylor's a lot quicker up through that bit. He's quicker onto it through the S's. He's quicker on, he's later on the brakes into the rising turn. And he's very quick from here through the next 2 right-hand corners, but unfortunately they lead to the long straight where the Porsche with just a little bit more horsepower has got the legs of the Intrepid, and unfortunately for him, the only real overtaking spot on this circuit is just about here as we go into turn 1.
Rob Dyson has long been one of the stalwart Porsche campaigners in IMSA Camel GT Racing. They have a new car coming online for this man, James Weaver. They hope to have it for the New Orleans race, 2 up the road. And we'll be seeing it at Watkins Glen in the month of July. Excuse me, later in June.
Just look how much quicker that Intrepid is through those S's. Gets up alongside him here now. Is Weaver going to block him out? Cool, bit of a dodgy place that. Coming up on a lapped car there. Now then, the Intrepid, if it's got a weak spot, is they've had